Welcome to this house of musicians with your host, singer, songwriter, and founder of the band, Inner City Outlaws, the Baritone Bear, Barry Smith, right here on Reality Radio 101. To get on board right now, send us an email. Our email address is thisHouseofMusicians@gmail.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, right to your host of this House of Musicians, Barry Smith.
How are you, Chuck Dailey? It's so nice to have you, buddy.
I'm doing great, and I'm so sorry that I'm showing up late to this because I was looking so forward to this. With COVID, as we all know, it shut down the live music business, and I've made that my entire life. For about the last decade. Before that, I was making a lot of records and licensing a lot of music as well. But I decided to dump it all into live, which is where I love to be. And when that all failed, when that all came to a close in one night, I had to change my tune, and I became a realtor over COVID, and was working on a deal just now with someone who really needed my attention and had to get me to close. And there we go. And so I'm trying to balance music and this now.
Chuck, absolutely not a problem, man. Business comes first, money comes first, and that is totally okay with us. I'm actually honored that you showed up and you're here. So thank you for calling in. Maybe we could go a little late.
Sure,
a little late.
And you know what? It's not even business, and has nothing to do with money. It was more like it was this very important thing that has to happen for this person. What I've learned doing real estate is that because it easily earns a lot more money very quickly than playing music, and it's teaching me that I don't care about money. It's teaching me that what I actually care about is helping people and helping people achieve their dreams and their goals and stuff like that. So that's what I was focused on, and I sort of lost track of time at the end there trying to help her finish that up. So there you go.
Chuck, absolutely okay, man. We're glad you're here. So what I want to do, Chuck, is talk about, because I want to play the Conspirators song. So let's talk about that song. Now, did you want to play that one first, or did you want to play I Mother Earth song first?
No, let's do Conspirators, since I was just talking about the destruction of the live music business in COVID, and just the ability, because the Conspirators were a band of friends. That's Darren Pfeiffer from Goldfinger. He also played in the Salads. He plays with the Dickies. He's been doing songs with like Tony Hawk and all sorts of crazy stuff over COVID. And then Dustin Jones is the singer and main songwriter in that band, and he's from a band called The Rising Tide, and he's also the lead singer in a band called the Inner City Surfers, and owns a studio up in Sault Ste. Marie. And we just are all great friends and started, and Dustin had written all these amazing songs over a couple years of struggling with his own sobriety. He was very sick with alcoholism, and found his way out of it. And during that entire time, he was writing music. And so we took those songs, and I produced the songs along with him. And we recorded all of them. And when we finished that up, he came to me and he said, what order should we put them in? And when I listened to them, I realized that this record that we made, it's called While the World Sleeps, is a progression of his battle with alcoholism. And so we were able to put it in the order of events that went down, to him being at his worst, to him finding himself at the end. And I thought it was amazing. And it was something we worked pretty hard on, just doing ourselves. I was jumping off tour buses in Sault Ste. Marie and then hitching rides to my next gigs in Thunder Bay, just so that I could record with him and stuff like that. And then we were planning on taking it to Los Angeles, or Hollywood, which is where Darren Pfeiffer lives and works. And we were going to do a whole bunch of showcases and have a couple anchor dates at festivals. And that was our plan for the summer. But then COVID took hold and it all just sort of shut down. We just stopped focusing on that record at all. And we decided to, just start hanging out with each other on Zoom calls. And then it turned into, why don't we make some music together? And the song that you have is the first one of those, where Dustin recorded himself playing something, sent it to me, and then I recorded myself playing on it, and Pfeiffer recorded himself playing on it. But I thought the most incredible thing is that Pfeiffer's drums are recorded on a freaking iPhone.
Isn't that something?
And each of us in this performance is not like a typical recording situation where you're punching in parts and you're layering parts and doing a ton of stuff and taking your time with it. It's just each of us playing front to back through the song.
Sure.
And so it's the video that you see online is actually me just actually playing the song. I'm not faking it. I'm not pretending to do it. It's
right.
That's what's on the recording. And so what this recording is a real great capture of that moment in our lives. And when I listen to it now, seeing that the sun is coming up on the horizon for all of us coming out of this COVID, at least it feels that way. It's awesome to look back at this tune and listen to it because it was really focused on the way we were feeling right at that time. And this was about a year ago now. So.
Yeah, and the recording sounds amazing, and I love the beat of the song. So let's go ahead and play it, Chuck, and then we'll talk a little more about it when we come back, if you wish.
Terrific. Thanks, Barry.
Awesome, buddy. You're welcome. Folks, I have Chuck Dailey from a few bands, of course, the Salads, I, Mother Earth, the Conspirators, and I'm sure there's many more that you've been in, but the Conspirators are Dustin Jones, Chuck Dailey, and Darren Pfeiffer. We're going to hear their song right now called Counting the Days Until I Get to Hold You. So, again, Chuck Dailey, thank you for coming on the show. Let's play that song, folks, right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio.
Yes, Reality Radio.
Come back stronger than the lightning strike, but it's true. Count days till I get to hold you. Can you see it? The world's been so sick, barely breathing. Mother Nature called in a spring cleaning. Ain't so special when that comes around. Such a humbling feeling to summer, where we dream of embracing each other. Loving vibes, we'll reach sisters and brothers, holding tight till the world comes around. Maybe it's our call to take our time. We'll siesta or our morning high will be alright. Come back stronger than the lightning strike, but it's true. Count days till I get to hold you. My TV's screaming about liberty, something about freedom. Do we really need to have a reason? When the sun comes up, it must come down. It's the price paid for living so simple. Another piece of the puzzle, a rainbow. But my party's in gold, no, it's emerald. These are strange days that we're living now. Maybe it's our call to take our time. We'll siesta or our morning high will be alright. Come back stronger than a lightning strike. Well, time flies by. Well, it's a chance to all slow down, you know. It's live or die. Well, the lights are shining brighter now, but it's true. The count days till I get to hold you. The count days till I get to hold you.
Hey, welcome back, folks, to this House of Musicians radio show. I have Chuck Dailey on the show this evening, and we just heard Counting the Days Until I Get to You, the Conspirators. Chuck, what a great song. Very professional. Sounds amazing. Are you planning
for recording like that? It is. And it's quite remarkable because the entire record that I was talking to you about is actually more like a Social Distortion sounding record with like really aggressive bass, and it's all kind of punk rock and hard punk rock. But mood wise, that's just sort of how we were feeling a year ago. So it ended up with a reggae tune.
Yeah, and it sounds great. Now, you guys, are you planning to tour?
That band, I don't know what we're planning on doing now because COVID really threw us in a spin where it's an up and coming band, and so we were showcasing and things like that. And so the bigger groups I play in, we're all booking shows and holding on to stadiums for 2022 and things like that. But for something like this band, it's really up to the three of us. So we're just waiting. We're just going to wait. And we're going to keep making music. We have a couple more songs similar to that we're sort of plugging through. And Dustin's got a bunch of music he's working on. And Darren's just such a busy guy, too. So we'll eventually get out there and play. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now let's talk about the Salads. You're a punk rock band from Newmarket, strong reggae tendencies, currently signed to their own label. So this was, of course, when you were a teenager.
Well, yeah, I started that band when I was 12 years old.
That's amazing, man.
I always say we were the real deal, like being out there and playing all the time. It's really hard to find a band like that where they were their childhood buddies and they just kept doing it and it worked out for them. And I thought it was such a beautiful thing. And it's that band. So we started that in about 1986. We were really little kids, and it started in a grade school washroom because the drummer and I both started at the public school at the same time. And he heard that I played guitar, and he came in while I was taking a leak. He all beside me, and I can remember it clear as day. Him going, "So I hear you play guitar." And then we set up a jam while we stood there, pressing next to each other, and that's how the Salads began. And that band has been a trip, right? You're right. We were signed to our own label, but we also signed deals with Warner for a couple of years, and we did deals with EMI. We had a development deal with Sony, and then we also signed deals in Japan, and we released records in Japan and sold a lot, and we released records in Australia on Blast Records alongside the President of the United States, and toured Australia with them as well. And it's been a really great run, that band. And we're still all buddies, but that band is we're a little bit finished with it, perhaps. We all talk about it happening, and it might happen again. And Darren Piper's actually one of the drummers in that band, but the original drummer is Grant Taylor, and he lives out on the West Coast now, but he's really pushing for it and really hoping that'll happen. So you never know. I would love to do it because it's the only group of friends I have that sound like that when we play together. And it would be a real shame to waste it and not keep doing it. So I'd love to see it happen again.
Yeah, sure. In 2003, with the Salads, you released your first album, Fold A to B, won several awards, like Canadian Radio Music Award, favorite band at the Canadian Indie Awards. You began, of course, writing more songs and performing them, getting ready for the next recording. You played EdFest 2004 and spent 2 weeks playing Australia in 2005 with the Presidency of the United States of America. So what's it got to be like to record an album and then a couple of songs catch on, and next thing you know, you're playing to big audiences and opening up for big acts? Like, how did you first get the call? Like, did someone, like, you just heard yourself on the radio, or how did that happen?
Well, you know what? It's fun to talk about this because, well, like I said, the band.
It is.
It sounds like it's a overnight success the way you talk about it, but like I said, we started this band in 1986. So our very first singles were actually us going back to our childhood songs when we were like 12 years old and revamping them and sort of revamping those ideas and seeing what happened. And And so we had released records before that, but they kind of didn't go anywhere. We played a lot of shows sort of at the Horseshoe, and we're sort of darlings of Canadian Music Week and North by Northeast and stuff like that, because we were so fun. But then we attempted to write 1-4-5 songs. So the chords that people use to write hit songs all the time. It's the same thing over and over again. And so we said, well, let's try that. And we tried it. And you're right. We released it to radio and went to top 10 almost immediately with Get Loose.
Amazing.
And,
that's crazy.
And it was shocking for our label, but not really shocking for us because we knew what we had done. That we had intentionally tried to do that time, which we'd never done before. But it sure felt good for people to hear it. And then in turn, it turned into, at the time, at the exact same time that we released that record, was when sort of Napster and all of that stuff really started taking over the internet. So instead of selling like 14,000 records really quick, you sell about 200. And it got really difficult. But we found our way, and we found our way through that. And it was really by just honing the live show and making sure that every time we went out there that we were just going to blow everybody away and just blow the roof off. And it wasn't that hard. Dave shreds guitar so hard.
Right.
It was always like, I've sort of come to realize that I'm a bass player to fancy guitar players, but it makes playing live so much fun. So
absolutely. And then you guys released a self-produced album entitled Music Every Day. You had special appearances by Angelo Moore from Fishbone, Canadian musicians David Wilcox, Brian Byrne from I Mother Earth, and Ryan Long from the Johnstones. So where I'm going with this is this how you joined I Mother Earth, was with Brian Byrne from having him as a guest on your album?
Well, I'm sure it's part of it, because the amazing thing. So the Salads were also, we kind of learned how to write pop songs like that by starting to play as a cover band. Because we were always playing sort of crazy metal, progressive, just really fusion kind of jazz, nerd music but we were a good enough band that it was very easy to sort of move into just sort of playing cover bars. And the cover band had a different singer that never played in the Salads, but he was great. Our friend Zeke, and he is now manager of I Mother Earth.
Wow!
And also the Salads had played a number of shows with I Mother Earth. We've played a couple Frosh things and a couple club shows, and there was sort of a lot of mutual respect between the bands, because even though we were sort of this goofy, fun band, and they were sort of this Latin-infused heavy rock band, we had a lot of similar qualities, which was just playing our instruments as hard as we possibly can. And so those guys would stand side stage and watch us and reciprocate. We would do the same. We would reciprocate and get on stage and watch them, because we're just amazed. They're amazing. And so when they needed a bass player to play in the band, they didn't need a bass player to play live. They needed someone to rehearse. Because Bruce, their longtime bass player, had moved to Florida, and was hilariously, because I'm a realtor now, he had become a realtor, and he was also playing in Blue Man Group in Florida. And so I was hired originally as a friend and a guy that they knew could play the songs, to just rehearse with them. And so I was doing that for a while, and then Bruce called me one day and said, "Dude, I can't make the next show. Can you do it?" And the show was like a week later, and it was playing with Slash. I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And so my very first show with them was a double bill with Slash and I Mother Earth, and I believe Monster Truck opened up. They hadn't quite taken off to where they are now, but they played at the start of the show, and it was out of this world. It was so amazing, and we had so much fun on stage. And somebody videotaped it, and our manager at the time gave Bruce a call and said, "Did you see this?" And Bruce said, "I saw the video." And he goes, "So what do you think?" And Bruce said, "It's kind of like watching someone have sex with my wife, but doing it better." Right? Which I thought was pretty comical, and it was such a nice compliment. And And from there, it just moved on to, it became really difficult for him to do any shows. And so I just sort of moved into being the live bass player for the band, and I've been doing it for about 10 years now, and it's been awesome. Hello?
Oh, Barry, are you there? I don't know. I think Barry...
Sorry, I'm here. I'm here. Hello.
Hello there, sir.
I am back. I had my phone on mute and, of course, forgot to put it back on unmute.
No issue at all.
Okay, well, so we're all back on the same page. Sorry about that, guys. And Chuck, you're still there?
Yeah, Chuck, are you there? I don't know what happened to Chuck. I don't see him now. I wonder if he hung up. I'm not sure.
That's okay. Let's go ahead and play. We were talking about I Mother Earth. It's been an interesting show. But we were talking about him playing with I Mother Earth. So what I want to do right now for the folks out there listening is play an I Mother Earth song that Chuck Dailey was part of called Devil's Engine. Folks. I have Chuck Dailey. Hopefully he'll call back. I have Chuck Dailey on the show this evening, and we're going to hear Devil's Engine from I Mother Earth right here on this House of Musicians radio show on Reality Radio 101.
Into Mexico, ain't fighting for much, I know. You rise so much to roll. So long, San Bernardino. You are not afraid of mine. Here's one for your tight young guns, and one more for a ride. I'm out of love, so tired and wearing out. I'm out of love, still going down. I finally feeling for every dope I know. There's a mother alone, good intention. I'm out of love, not here for home. But highway 7 has been down. I could kill someone. Hello, Ontario. From Blackwater out to Mountain Grove, a rumble in every town. The meat does shake the house. Your sweet Canadian lover, love was blowing my mind. The hunts in the autumn time, whoa, my, can lead your heart alive. I'm out of love, so tired and wearing out. I'm out of love, slow going down. I finally feeling I'm every broken home by the mother's home, the devil's engine. I'm out of love, not here for
Hey, welcome back, folks. I want to apologize to you all for the technical difficulties. It's very rare here on this show, but it does happen. So, and we're all back. Chuck, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know where you cut me off. Where was I in my story?
I have no idea. But you called back, and I'm glad you did. I Mother Earth. We just played Devil's Engine. Let's talk about that. Ripping guitar leads in that, and just all around amazing song.
Shredding. The way the bass and the guitar work in that together is so fun to play live. And obviously we've been playing with Ed for the last couple of years, so we haven't done that song. We have done a couple Brian songs, but I would love for that song to get back into our mix because the feel of that tune is so wicked and fun to play.
It sure is. It's just a ripping song for sure. Let's talk about, Chuck, what you got going on at the moment. What are you doing, man?
Well, that's part of why I wanted you to play that tune, because it's got a similar feel. It's got that sort of similar grungy, heavy, cool, almost stoner rock riff, blues kind of riffs to it. And I can't tell you the name of the band yet because they want to introduce it themselves, that I'm in the band right now.
Good for you.
I can sort of allude to it, and it was a duo of a band, a very heavy band, and they've released a lot of records, and they've decided to add a bass player, and I was the lucky guy that they called because they've signed a great record deal with E1 in Canada and the US, and they recorded a record with Neil from 3 Days Grace.
Yep.
Who is a brilliant producer, and he's part of a production team with Howard Benson. And you might know Howard Benson from producing bands like POD and My Chemical Romance. So much great, heavy progressive music. He does Finch, and he's done so many records I just love. So it was a real gift to be able to do that. And the songs are coming back and sound so incredible because the band is actually tuned to very low tunings. We're all tuned way down to like B's and A's, which is very, very low. And the guitar player plays a baritone guitar. So the mixes that we're getting back from Howard, I can't wait to share this stuff. And we have all sorts of tours coming in the next year and stuff. But it's really hard to tell what the guitar and the bass is within the music, which is something I really love. It's just sort of this twist and turn of guitar and bass that you're sort of questioning what is what the whole time, and it's so groovy and heavy, and it's got sort of that feel of Devil's Engine, but it also feels a little bit like Motley Crue Kickstart My Heart.
Cool.
And it's going to be such a fun band, and we do have something coming up on July 5th that I'll let you know about, that you can tell your people when I'm allowed to know. But I know we're doing something with Billy Talent and Sum 41 that day. I believe that we're recording something live at the El Macombo. I believe
Good
that
for you.
I believe it's the guy that produces Tool, and he also did I Mother Earth's last big album they did, and before they broke up and returned, the Quicksilver Meat Dream record. He produced that as well. I'm really looking forward to that, and so you're going to be able to hear about that in about 2 weeks and what that band is when they allow me to start telling people who it is. But I'll just tell you, it kicks a ton of ass. We've got stadium tours lined up for a year from March, basically last March. So March 2022, we have stadiums reserved across the country to do some tours with some other big bands. So you're going to hear about it, and it's really good. And for me, it's one of the most fun recordings I've ever done, because Neil just let me be myself. So we were recording at Jukasa, which is this incredible studio outside of Hamilton where you get to play through the Abbey Road console. They flew in the Abbey Road console from the UK, and it's got John Lennon's signature on it. And there's just something about the feeling of playing through this and being in that room where, so ZZ Top records there sometimes, and Aerosmith records, and just being in this place. And it's just, and at first Neil was, can you try playing this? Can you try playing this? And then eventually he said, you know what? Just do whatever you want.
Yeah. So that's always the best way.
12 hours of me just going for it, like each day.
Wow.
And me just saying, can you turn it up more? Can you turn it up more? It got so loud in there. And so the way these records feel is really out of this world. And E1 are going to push it real hard. So you're going to hear about it. And I can't wait. So that's
and you've told us so much without telling us, you know, who the band is that we're very excited, and I will promote the band when it's done. And not only am I going to hear about it, we'll come and see you. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And why don't you fly out to Edmonton too? Because we do have a show with I Mother Earth coming up, and I believe it's at the end of August 29th.
Okay.
Danko Jones, and I believe it's Our Lady Peace, Danko Jones, us, and Royal Tusk is the other band, I believe. A kind of a heavy stoner rock band from out west. And we're playing it says it's a socially distanced venue, but it's also called Welcome Back is the festival. And I'm really looking forward to that. So we're flying out to Edmonton. And I know I've had fans getting in touch with me that have already bought flights from like Newfoundland, and other guys flying out from PEI to see us. I just can't wait. The energy is going to be unreal.
Yeah, and I'm going to run upstairs and tell the wife as soon as the show's over that we're going to Edmonton.
Well, I can tell you flights are remarkably cheap right now, Barry. It's crazy.
Well, maybe we'll have to book them now and come see you guys. That'd be awesome. Chuck, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. Tell me, buddy, a crazy story that's happened to you either on stage, on a tour bus, eating dinner with the band, anything at all. But it's kind of putting you on the spot. But tell me a crazy rock star story.
There's so many, Barry.
I know that.
It like actually sends my head spinning because I don't really know what to tell you. There's been so many times there's the rock star stories where people try to screw you out of money, but then there's also the rock star stories where your drummers are jumping off of balconies into swimming pools 4 floors below. Those kind of rock star stories. There's a story of leaving. We were on tour with I Mother Earth and got to the gig. We drove all night. It was like a 13-hour drive overnight. And we got to the gig. I can't remember where it was, but it must have been out west or maybe in the prairies because it was a long enough drive. When we got to the gig, realized that the bus driver had stopped at a truck stop in the middle of the night. Danielle, our percussion player, decided to jump off the bus and go to the bathroom and didn't tell anybody.
Oh, no.
So we got to the gig and realized that Danielle was left way behind somewhere in some other town out in the middle of nowhere. Didn't have his cell phone, nothing. And somehow we got him back. I think we cabbed him until we found some fans that could pick him up and bring him. So that's kind of funny.
That's amazing.
I think one of my favorite things that happened is available on YouTube. If you just look up Fishbone Salad. We had done a lot of touring with Fishbone, but it was like months and months of just getting our asses whipped every single night by them. And so it felt like a real stretch when we were at a Warped Tour in Cleveland, playing at a Warped Tour in Cleveland, and Angelo Moore was there, who you said is on our music every day. And we did this after this moment. He agreed to it after this. Is he was doing a spoken word thing. He had a booth at the thing and reads and does this incredible poetry actually. And we found him and walked over and said, "Hey, Angela, do you think you might want to come up and play a song with us today?" He's like, "Oh, I'll think about it." And while we're on stage that day in Cleveland, we could see Angelo walking towards us. And your listeners haven't seen what Angelo looks like, he's who Gwen Stefani gives all credit to for all of her style.
Cool.
And many others too. If there's a Fishbone documentary where everybody is like, they're the band that we copied, Chili Peppers and Primus, they're the band we copied.
Cool.
And so Angelo's walking through the field, and all he's got on, and you'll see this in the video if you look up Fishbone Salad, he's just got a kilt on and army boots and a great big top hat, sort of like Slash, and his toothbrush rammed into the side of his kilt so he can brush his teeth every once in a while. And but totally shirtless because he's super ripped. And he's carrying a massive saxophone and got up and walked up on stage with us. And Kevin Lyman, who runs Warped Tour for the decades that it ran for, because it was the longest running festival of its kind, came up on stage that day and talked to the crowd. And Kevin was very drunk, but he came up and he said, "Everybody, this right here, what's happening is exactly what I wanted to happen. This is what Warped Tour is all about. And I'm so glad that you're all here, because there were thousands of people that followed Angelo to stage to see him play with us." And basically what Kevin was talking about was the fact that he was mixing brand new, sort of aggressive, progressive, fun music with one of the OG guys that did it. And we were doing it together on stage. And Angelo originally came up to play one song with us, and we ended up doing an entire set of Fishbone songs.
Wow.
Which was amazing. So that's one of my favorite rock star stories.
No kidding.
There's all those stories about us pranking bands and leaving bags of poop in their buses and things like that too. But I like that Angelo story best. So.
That's amazing, Bud. And I'm sure, like you say, you have hundreds of stories when you're on the road touring and doing whatnot. Chuck, there's a part of the segment of the show I like to do called, "Well, Gary, what do you think?"
What do I think? Wow. Well, the good news from Chuck is that he gives us hope, because everything's loosening up, and he's talking about some great future shows and some concerts, which is great to hear after these many months of us doing nothing, doing squat. And the other thing, Chuck, congratulations in the real estate market, because we still have that big bubble going right now, sold over asking. So, I hope that does really well for you as well, and look forward to seeing you this summer with the band.
Thank you. I'm going to be funding all the tours from now on my real estate career.
Yeah.
You cannot tell any of the other band members that. Yeah, you can't tell any of the other band members that you're selling houses. You can't.
Oh no, it's all good. I've actually this band that I've been alluding to I'm pushing them for their European deals, because they're working through some European deals with E1. And saying, you got to make it happen, because if you make that happen, I promise you, if we go to Spain, I'm renting us all supercars that day.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
Good for you. Well, there you go.
I'm there on your show right now and making that promise to those guys. So.
And they're listening. So there you go, hopefully. And so what can I say, Chuck? It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. We're glad we connected back with you, and you called in. I know you were busy before that, and that's totally perfect and okay. And we continued the show a little longer. I want to congratulate you on all of your music career endeavors that you've had, and I know they're going to continue, and I can't wait to get out and see you. Thank you kindly for being on the show.
Thank you so much, and I'm going to go play my bass now and get ready for the show coming up on July 5th that you're going to hear about soon.
Oh, good. We will definitely help promote it. That's absolutely for sure. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome. And to the listener, I say thank you for being here. Always dance and sing. Let the music bring your soul to the surface for all the world to see. Until next time, have a shuffle your feet kind of week, and good night. You've been listening to This House of Musicians on Reality Radio 101.